I saw this video over the weekend, and yes, it's maybe a rare day when you don't notice a video on Instagram or the X platform from Integrity TO, but this one was a little different, and not that they aren't all attempting to make the point that Toronto isn't what it used to be, and the hope is still it can go back towards what it used to be, but I couldn't believe this one. A gentleman who is addicted to meth did a chat and vice versa with Daniel Tate, the executive director of Integrity TO, and Daniel joins me right now. I wanted to have you in to talk about this, play a couple clips, but I found it fascinating. Explain the genesis of running into Stephen, was it?
Stefan from Renfrew, Ontario, who was high as a kite and in a delusional state inside an RBC ATM on a Saturday afternoon.
Just broad daylight, weekend day, and you're coming in to
and I'm
use
just
an
coming
ATM.
in to get some cash and confronted with this scene.
Probably not the first time it's happened, but obviously you did something unique. You pulled out your phone, and I will tell people, like, again, I don't think I would do this. I didn't find it the least bit exploitative. I don't think you were dunking on this poor man's fate. I know enough about you to know that's not your style, especially someone who's so vulnerable. You'll try and take on the people in power and knock them off their perches, but you weren't going to do that to this guy. What made this occurrence and this moment different that you're like, let me have an actual nuanced conversation about his problems?
Because I wanted to understand the humanity of this individual. I wanted to understand their story. And really create awareness and show people what's going on. You know, sometimes I'm at City Hall and I'm criticizing the policy, but now I'm in a situation where I'm seeing that policy pretty much manifest in front of my eyes. So I wanted to show that side of the story.
All right, let me play a couple quick clips. This is Stefan, who is from Renfrew, Northern Ontario, and obviously Daniel Tate's with us in studio talking to Stefan from a few days ago.
Why don't you go to a shelter where it's safe?
They won't accept me. I tried and they do not help me. They will not help me. They say no.
Did they say it's about your drug use?
No, they sell drugs at the shelter. And they sell them there.
Now, you've documented this before, and I think that's been surprising to some of our listeners. Not that they're living sheltered lives or anything, but people are busy and they hear that and they go, well, a shelter would be somewhere where you can go to dry out and get better and try and change your life. The shelters, it's funny, I was at a supportive housing meeting in Ajax last night, and there's going to be a supportive housing project, and I'm all for it. I'm worried it's in the wrong location, right across from Ajax's library, and I'm worried it's far too close to people who are homeless right now, experiencing homelessness, who are using drugs out in the open. If you're trying to get better, get your life back on track, pay rent, get a job, do this, do that, I think they've got this in the wrong geographical place, and that was a case many residents made. But you had found this out about shelters probably a couple years ago, that it's almost like ordering a pizza sometimes for people to get drugs to these places.
Yeah, they're hotbeds of drug activity. They attract dealers, they attract drug users, and often, as we saw with the horrible story at the South Riverdale Health Center. Now, that's not a shelter, but they're involved in harm reduction. Mm-hmm. And again, they were attracting these nefarious elements. Shelters are involved in harm reduction. They are actively handing out needles and meth pipes. There's even some shelters that offer alcohol. They're called wet shelters. And I did a video on this last year. There's an entire document at City Hall about the shelter's role in harm reduction activities. And that's what attracts these nefarious drug elements. And that's what Stefan said. Look, he was out of his mind, so we can't necessarily take everything he said as truth. But that sounded pretty sincere when he told me, and he looked me straight in the eye and he said, they're dealing at the shelters.
Yeah, they're dealing at the shelters. And my fear always with the shelters, again, not like supportive housing where it's secure, one person, a unit, and there's a lot more strict rules. Now, my problem with supportive housing is if you're not going to create a policy of abstinence, you're asking for trouble, and you better police it. I don't mean the police policing it, but you just better you better make people sign their agreement and stick to their agreement, because once you let that sort of drip in, you're going to have a cascade, a tidal wave of problems if you can't enforce these supportive housing units.
Yeah, I'm of the opinion that shelters need to undergo a very strict classification system. There's different levels, and people who are in the throes of drug addiction need to be in a very specifically designed secure type of shelter facility that will house them in a way where they're not a danger to themselves or others, and then have those detox facilities available. And the deal basically is, if you want shelter, you're getting detoxed. You're going to have a fast track to rehab, and you're really not going to have a choice in the matter. But right now, we don't have that, especially the men's shelters. It's a total free-for-all. And as we saw a couple weeks ago, it's creating massive risk, because at the George Street shelter, there was a fire. Somebody got majorly burned because they brought in a blowtorch and they were trying to smoke fentanyl inside the men's shelter.
Yeah, there are blowtorches, there are weapons, there are dogs. There's just like it is a big problem. One more is from Stefan. This is a gentleman who said he originated from Renfrew, doesn't want to go back there. Told a story about his parents that I get to, but says that he can't even go and rehabilitate himself at this point.
If somebody offered you rehab tomorrow for free, would you take it?
No.
Why?
Because I just went to rehab for 2 years.
And what happened?
Nothing. I lost everything. I used to have a property and everything. I lost everything.
Really sad to hear, eh? Like you're experiencing this in real time. I had time to brace and go, okay, I'm not there. But you in that moment thinking, what do I say next? You're probably also thinking, what do I do if this goes a little bit sideways?
Yeah,
you have to think that.
I'm always in a defensive posture when I'm walking the streets of Toronto, and it's
a good way to
sad.
put it.
It's actually sad that I have to be like that, because people who just take the TTC are also feeling the same way. It's people like Stefan who are making the city feel unsafe, unclean, terrible TTC conditions, and it's all fueled by drug use. But that interaction that you just played tells the inconvenient truth that those in the throes of addiction, fentanyl and meth, don't have agency. They don't have logical reasoning to seek out rehab. The drugs make them comfortable, it numbs the pain. Maybe they're even okay with the current lifestyle they have. They're not going to go seek out rehab.
Mm-hmm.
And he demonstrated that. Do you want to get rehab if it's free tomorrow? He's like, no. I'm totally fine out here. And that's what we all need to grapple with, that reality that we can't rely on drug abusers to seek out rehab on their own volition.
But then I go, Daniel Tate's with us, by the way, Executive Director, Integrity TO. And I'm not saying you don't have any solutions for this, but I don't think anybody does, because we could take Stefan to the city limits of Toronto, like when Brian Dennehy took Stallone out in First Blood. He's just going to cut, like, you won't go in a shelter. You won't go to rehab. Your only next option is, I'm worried you'll commit a crime, do something terrible. Then you've committed a crime against somebody, and you're going to jail. So then we got more victims strewn because of the story.
Well, let's just enforce the laws. That guy was already committing crimes. He was in possession of drugs. He was loitering. That's 2 right there. I'm sure we can find others. He said in the video he has to do a number 2 on the sidewalk. That's also a part of the
public should be
so right there, that's 3 crimes.
But you don't jail people for that either.
Well, maybe we should.
No, we can't jail people for loitering. You know
well,
that.
Hold on. If you have committed a crime, and especially if you've done it many, many times over a short period, you can add those cumulatively, and you can take it to the Attorney General. You can take it to the judge and say, this guy is a threat to himself, a threat to society. He needs to be held in jail pending his trial, and maybe in jail he'll get clean. A lot of people get clean in jail, and I'm not saying jail is always the right solution for people like him, but being involuntarily committed to a mental institution or a mental health institution, or creating a third type of holding facility for these people who are gone off meth and fentanyl.
Well, we've definitely done a hey, do what you want whenever you want thing in our city. And I don't know how long we've been doing it before, but we're sure here now. Do what you want, however you want. When I hear the police say, hey, we want to be more in the TTC system, and I'm like, well, that's great. You could have a a police officer, even on every car. If you're going to watch someone take a crack pipe out and start smoking, and you're just going to stand there, what's the point of you being on that car? If you're just there when something violent already happens, we're missing the purpose of why we would enforce laws.
Exactly, and that's what's happening right now with these TTC special constables who basically don't do anything. They have many disincentives to actually take care of anything and exert force when needed. And they're asking for more money. Why should we give more money to the TTC special constables when safety and security on the TTC is in decline? They're obviously not proving their worth, which is why I've always advocated for having a strong police force on the TTC ready to take care of business without blinking an eye.
I can't remember if I told you my homeless guy story. I was walking, ironically, the morning after Olivia Chow won the mayoral by-election, and we were doing our show from our truck at Nathan Phillips Square. And I was on the phone carrying coffees with a backpack with my laptop in it, and I woke up a very burly homeless guy sleeping. This guy woke up like a shot, like a dog would, and he's ready to go. And he's walking after me, and I'm like, what do I do? Do I throw the coffee at? I couldn't forget that. The entire show, I got home, I was shaking, telling my wife the story. So I bring that up to note that experience already changed some of my behavior in the city. You can imagine a 68-year-old guy walking into that ATM Saturday afternoon, a 15-year-old girl. They'd change their behavior also. Or you wouldn't even go in. You'd be like, there's some drugstores, I'm like, there's a guy waiting outside there. I don't like the look of him. I'm not going to go in at this point. I'll go to another drugstore. I'm finding I'm doing it.
You see, and you're like, you're a big guy, and you feel that way. So
Yeah,
imagine you're a 19-year-old female student who goes to U of T, or you're 15 years old, or you're a 70-year-old old lady with a walker. They're having to contend with this day in, day out. And guys like Stefan at the ATM machine, we could already tell in that exchange that he was suffering from like a lot of psychotic delusions. A lot of the things he was saying, probably a lot of it is fueled by fentanyl, meth, and God knows what else he's ingesting. So all it takes is one knife and one episode, and someone's going to get hurt. And this is what really keeps me up at night.
We've got an election coming up right now because Michael Ford's not going to run. Anthony Fury's not going to run. This looks like a mano match between the incumbent Olivia Chow and the challenger, the counselor Brad Bradford. I'm going to guess you lean more towards voting for Bradford, but does Bradford evoke policies that you think could help either people like Stefan or make sure he isn't in that ATM when it comes around a year from now and you go to get some money out on a Saturday afternoon? Isn't Stefan still going to be there no matter who the mayor is?
Well, I'll be looking for a mayor and council candidates who are going to say the status quo is not tenable, is not sustainable, and we need a drastic overhaul of policy at the municipal level, and then lobby hard with other orders of government to resolve this once and for all, to make Toronto a safe and clean place again. Yesterday, I posted a video of what it looks like at Queen and Bathurst right now on the northwest corner. It's apocalyptic.
Tell people what you see.
Well,
I'll
you basically see tons of people either doing the fent fold or they got their pants down to their knees, so they're public nudity, high as kites, drinking this and that, and I feel terrible for the businesses in the area. Queen West is already tough to run a small business. It's a shell of what it used to be, and now it's even worse. So anyways, regarding Bradford, I don't know yet what his policy platform is going to be. I'm really hoping law and order and making Toronto a safe and clean city again is a big, big part of it. And if he has great policies, I think that could help him on the path to victory.
I think you're going to run for city council. Are you prepared to announce that you're going to?
I've made no announcements, and
I know that.
Decided. We'll see.
Okay, it's Tuesday. That day may be Friday. Thank you for coming in. I actually think this is a great thing that you did. And like I said, I didn't think you were exploiting the guy. I think you were telling his story. You also were taking some risks in chatting.
It was for educational purposes. I wasn't doing it for clicks or likes. I don't care about that stuff. I did it so people can get a new perspective.
Daniel Tate, Executive Director, Integrity TO, the political advocacy group that's making some noise heading into this municipal election season. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, Greg.